is the lesson study, which is one of our options that is going to start this week or next week as far as your Thursday collaboration goes. As your Thursday collaboration, you guys have a little bit more of choice in what you choose for your collaboration. And lesson study is one of your options. And we have a couple teachers in this room that were part of it last year. So I hope in a couple, like after a couple minutes, maybe you guys will share your experience. Because me and Banks, we piloted the lesson study last April to see what it was like and to see if we and other teachers sort of enjoyed it as a way to collaborate and sort of push your own practice. I can cut off a little bit. Well, the sort of first we want to sort of talk about, yeah.
I was just going to say, if you press the green button, it'll bring
There we go.
It'll what? If I press the what?
It'll snap it to the screen view.
What green button?
At the upper left.
Play. But anyway, we're going to talk sort of about why we're doing a lesson study, how's it going to look, and what specifically do you need to know if you want to participate in a lesson study. So the reason that we got really excited when we heard about lesson study, and we did it with some other teachers, is it provides a really nice, safe environment for taking a risk and trying something new in your classroom, and it being okay that it doesn't go well the first time. Because a lot of the times when we use a strategy or we learn something from PD, it might not always work the first time. That doesn't mean it's a bad strategy. It means that we need to think about what are changes and adjustments we can make to actually try that strategy again to see if it makes students learn more. And lesson study is basically like a support group of teachers in this room, since we're in math science collaboration, where it's basically a support group around how does this strategy work in your classrooms? What are you doing that's making it successful? Everyone splits up, they try the strategy, and we come back and we debrief how it went in our classrooms together. So it provides a bunch of different voices and perspectives as you're trying something new and taking a risk in your classroom. Because like we said, you can always make changes to make a strategy work better. So we also want to provide a model for how to be reflective. Because it can't just be, oh, that strategy doesn't work, or my kids can't handle it. There's probably a tweak you can make or a change you can make that'll make that strategy more successful for you in your classroom. But you might not know what the change needs to be. So there'll be other teachers in your lesson study group where you guys will be stealing ideas from each other, basically. Because we want, as we've been practicing in our regular PD, we want it to have that culture of learning from our mistakes. It's okay to try something new. It's okay for it not to go perfectly the first time, as long as we're asking how we can change it to make it better for the next time. And that's sort of why we're doing a lesson study, is to make it a little safer and easier to try new things in your classroom. So that way you don't feel so alone as you're experimenting with things.
Yeah, I mean, when we first got into it, our big thing was like, we know that we feel overwhelmed with PD and all this information that comes at us, but we loved this because we could align it with the iTeaches and the PDs, and we could make something meaningful, and we could make collaboration super authentic and meaningful with each other, instead of just sitting side by side in lesson planning.
Yeah.
This is like actually collaboration.
Truly learning from each other, or instead of just sitting next to each other. Yeah.
Question?
Do you have to know all of the iTeachers in order to be a part of this lesson study?
No.
Great question.
We'll talk about it. We'll cover it.
What's your question?
Do you have to go to every iTeach to participate? And the answer is no.
So what is, and I'm sure if we can hold questions, because I'm sure we'll cover a lot. What is a lesson study? Well, technically, this is called, in technical terms, it's a peer learning lab. It's not actually a lesson study.
As far as buzzwords in education goes, if you
Yeah.
Google what we're doing, technically we're doing a peer learning lab, but we're calling it
If
lesson
you
study.
Google it. It consists of it's student focused 100%. So we're not looking at teacher actions. We're looking at student actions and then adjusting so that they're where we want them to be. There's a peer host classroom. So like within the group, you would be going into one of your peers' classrooms and observing during that cycle. The group of teachers are learners, not experts. So it's not anybody's job to come into this group saying like, oh, I know this, I'm really good at this, I can give you advice. It's not about that. It's about learning and reflecting.
We are not coaching, we are not evaluating, and either me or Banks will be facilitating, but we are also not the experts.
We're still learners too.
We might be the facilitators, but we are not hosting this because we know all the answers. We're just facilitating the protocols that we're going to follow.
There's always a focus question It's completely data driven, and we'll go over what that looks like. And like we said, it's a real collaboration among peers. So that's kind of like what it is in a very quick.
There you go.
Let's see. I feel like we just
Yeah,
covered this.
sorry.
Sorry. This is. So here's an example of a cycle.
Yes.
And we'll go over there's like a complicated calendar that you have in front of you.
Yeah, because this is gonna spell out the calendar for the entire year, but we're just gonna zoom in and go over what one cycle looks like. So this is what your Thursdays would look like for just a 4-week period. So it doesn't happen all year long. You're gonna sign up for one cycle.
And these dates this is an example. So this isn't actually how the dates are gonna start. We're gonna actually start 1 week later. But tomorrow is the I1 I Teach. And so if you are in that cycle where you're in the group that's concentrating on your I1, you would attend that I Teach. So you are required to attend that I Teach. And then there would be a planning session with your lesson study group soon afterwards, where you would talk about and create the focus question and the look-fors, and come up with a strategy in your classroom and script it out. So that's like your planning session. At the end of that planning session, you would have a scripted lesson strategy, and you would have already established who in that group you're going to observe that next week. And so you would know the next week we're going to observe Baki, third period. Now we realize how this is, that not all of us have the same plan. And so some people would be able to attend and go in person and collect data, and some people would have to watch the video of the strategy being implemented. But it's everybody's responsibility that next week, everyone's implementing their strategy, so that when we come to the debrief, we can all talk about our experiences. We can look at the classroom that we went to observe, talk about the data, what happened, and we can all walk away with an action step of how we're going to adjust so that it's even more successful the next time we implement. And how this would work is you would take that action step and you would put it into your next lesson for another week, and you would do a second observation of a different teacher. You guys would we would come back, we would debrief like what happened and like what our big takeaway was for that. So that way you have 2 chances to like tweak a strategy or change something in your classroom that's aligned with I1. What's important to know is that if you are doing a debrief or observation or planning session that week, you are excused from that Thursday's collaboration. So it takes the place of collaboration. So if you are observing the week of it, you're going in and you're observing my room, second period, then you do not need to attend collaboration on that Thursday. That is your collaboration, is that observation. So some people were concerned about what type of timing is this taking out of our schedule. So we wanted to break it down. If this is what it looks like, essentially your own time, what you are dedicating, because this is optional. You don't have to sign up for lesson study. This is something that we're doing for you guys to give you an option to collaborate with your peers. So the I Teach is your own time. You'd have to come in that morning. You don't get out of collab because you come to it. That's your own time. And in most cycles, there's going to be an observation and a debrief at least once in the same week. And so this is your collab. This hour that you're doing is of your own time. In a cycle, okay, any questions about that? I just threw a bunch of information at you.
So I guess my biggest question is, does it have to be the Monday after the I Teach that you observe a specific
No.
classroom?
You-
And then
you
does
would
it
plan
say-
it.
And does it have to be Baki and you?
No.
So
This is just a sample.
This was the example
Sample.
because last April, myself, Banks, Tripp, Hall, and Trainer all did this as a cycle to see what it felt like, to see if it was something we would like. So this was just the mock calendar that we did. It happened that everyone's common planning period, they could all observe me, and we decided that as a group. So if Wednesday worked better, then maybe it's Wednesday.
You decide all of these times as
Yeah,
a group.
it'll be as a group during that first planning session. You'll decide who you're observing and when that observation would take place.
Second one, same thing? Because I just feel like we would want to make sure that like if we were agreeing to host, we wanted to give you classroom
Yes.
That something's actually happening that
Exactly. So with your group, whoever's the host classroom, like back when we did it in the spring, I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna implement this strategy on that Monday. Please come into my Monday lesson. So you're guaranteed to see the strategy you discussed and planned.
Everybody goes in at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not like you just go in like, oh, I'm
Just
gonna
whenever.
walk you through sometime this week. Everybody goes in at the same
Like I had all 4 teachers literally in my room watching that one lesson
It was, yeah.
when I hosted the observation. Orla?
Is the strategy, is it a whole lesson strategy, or can it be
No.
something simple?
It can
Like
be
they
something
come in for
simple.
5-10 minutes and see something happen and then hop out? Or is
So
it-
like our big focus is we did our pilot after I4, the academic vocab. We set our like big goal as students will be able to write a paragraph with academic writing, with precision and whatnot. So it was all about academic vocabulary strategies. So when they came in, they were specifically looking only about my vocabulary strategies, not even my whole lesson as a whole, just what strategies am I using to support kids using vocabulary better, so by the end of the lesson they can write with good vocabulary.
So depending on your focus question and depending on that specific strategy, it could be like maybe just the first 15 minutes of the opening, or maybe it's embedded throughout the lesson.